Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, May 17th, 2024, and I wanted to make one more comment about a reoccurring theme I've seen with some serious influencers like Elon Musk and a channel called The Thought Emporium, where the same mistake has happened. And I thought of a metaphor just a moment ago. It's like trying to use a thermometer to read voltage in an electrical socket when these people are talking about a Geiger counter picking up EMF radiation. So on the Joe Rogan podcast, Elon Musk said that cell phones do not emit radiation. And then he went off on a little mini rant talking about nuclear radiation and the particles that emits that goes along with that, and it's essentially narrative control because he's such an influential part of the media these days. And what he said is that, well, radiation's just around us everywhere, so why worry about it? You know what I mean? Painting the picture kind of like, if you're worrying about cell phones or anything like that, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's crazy. But no, these things are 100% dangerous, and the towers are significantly more dangerous. So a cell phone by itself out of the box before you connect it to a tower is not hazardous, and that's the way that they test them. So right when you connect it to the towers and everything, these towers are all operating at their own levels. They're all leased out from Crown and Castle in the most part in Las Vegas. So those safety guidelines are not always respected at each different location, meaning that there's different possibility for hazard. And when it comes to radio frequency, the frequency that you're transmitting, the power, and the modulation style all matter very much. In a paper called Synthetic Telepathy and Early Mind Wars, which I suggest everybody go look up and read, it talks about how V2K and these type of mental degradation attacks, you don't necessarily need a huge, gigantic power density to do it. It's more so about the modulation. So without appropriate watching and policing of each tower location and how they're modulating and how they're transmitting these things, and like I said, we don't have a FCC in Las Vegas, then it leaves a gray area for corruption. Misuse of the system from military, intelligence community, and as unlikely as it would be for hackers to learn a lattice system that's monitored 24 hours a day by advanced security experts, that's unlikely. So it's most likely just corruption. It's more likely than hackers. Although with the robocalls and stuff, misusing the repeater towers is a possibility. But back to the topic, the main topic, although this is related, it's a little bit of a narrative control to say, oh, we're just constantly bathed in radiation, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So you definitely should worry about it, not nuclear radiation, unless you're visiting a former bomb site. But this EMF radiation is a completely different thing. So you'd use an EMF safety detector for that opposed to a Geiger counter or a cloud chamber. And that gets into the next video that I just saw this morning that inspired me to make this video. It's on the Thought Emporium's YouTube. So he doesn't at any point in time say that cell phones are a hazard to us. He just says that, hey, they're not emitting radiation particles. Well, they're not emitting radiation particles because it's not radioactive by that sense of nuclear radiation. It's not emitting those particles, but it is emitting electrons. And it's emitting electrons at different values at different times. As you saw in that video that I just posted, it's pulsing it in a way that can be extremely dangerous to anybody's health, depending on how it's modulated, how it's pulsed. So that's when the tracking and surveillance of us that is illegal as well starts to play into that. And a single entity can have a modulated radio frequency that is sent to their phone, around their phone, or just directly at them, that degrades their brain state, blurs their vision, affects their stomach, affects their biology in any way you can imagine. Okay? This is the brain project that Obama signed into law in 2008 to continue that research that has been perfected since the 1960s when Dr. Alan Frey accidentally discovered the microwave auditory effect at Cornell University. And go ahead and fact check every single word of this rant. I am correct in every department of this. A cell phone will never emit nuclear radiation unless that it was intentionally around a radioactive source, that type of thing. So to say that it's safe because it's not radioactive is inaccurate. And that is also narrative control. So it's giving us a false sense of security with these things that we have around us all the time that the whistleblowers have said is the number one favorite thing of the intelligence community / the government. That we all have these recording devices with advanced sensors. Most of us don't even know what they are. There's gyroscopes. The insurance company can tell exactly how many miles per hour you're driving at any point in time. Did you know that? Gyroscope does that. On an Apple phone, you can't turn it off. On an Android, you can turn off your sensors. There's infrared constantly emitting out of your front-facing camera that damages your vision in the long run. You can see it if you take a special camera and look for that. There's infrared coming out of every single streetlight sensor. Those are infrared sensors. Also plate readers. Don't do crime with this stuff. Just learn. But to say Elon Musk said and Thought Emporium, both what you'd think of as brilliant minds that are content creators, that are influencers, that are looked at for scientific information that you don't already know. That's what we listen to them for, right? We're trying to learn something from the things that they say. Well, it's narrative control to not remind people that these things are dangerous. And it's about how it's modulated. And it doesn't have to damage your DNA for it to be a harm to your biology. Like your brain cells are coming a lot, like you are creating brain cells actively every second of the day, just like all the other cells of your body. And if you're around a carcinogenic source, then there's a chance that one of those cells that your body is creating could be mutated. And that's how cancer occurs. And that's part of why the United States has the highest cancer rate across the globe. And we've got the highest rate of heart disease. And there's so many documentaries coming out about how dirty and unclean our food system is, how dirty the chicken industry is, how dirty all the meat is. And that's inspired a whole wave of veganism. And I don't know if that's the correct phrase for that. But a lot of new vegans are vegans now, partially because of that. So the food is something where we're supposed to have guidelines in place to prevent all these terrible things. And now that's like a false sense of security to see a Food and Drug Administration sticker on anything you see in a grocery store. Is it really safe? You don't know that because these people don't really check and look for the things that they're supposed to look for. And the same thing could be said for radio frequency. And while I'm not saying having a cell phone is going to make you targeted, what I am saying is when you are targeted, the cell phone is a tool that is used against you 24 hours a day, whether it's jamming your connection, spying on what you're doing, getting your location, all of that, yes. But at the same time, it's not dependent. So like when a person's being targeted, it's going to happen whether or not they have a phone. Because this is being done with military-grade radio frequency. And just like Elon Musk said, this radiation is all around us. So then if you bitch and moan about how you're being irradiated, somebody else could say, hey man, this radiation's all around us. How am I supposed to go get it? Well, then it takes years and years of experience in going through every single range of radio frequencies, which is a terrifying task while you're also being tortured with them. And that's why there's been so many different little tidbits of information that really help along the way, and it builds a foundation for this to get better for the public as a whole, because this is something that is used against the public as a whole. while you might not experience V2K for a decade like I do, you're influenced with this. Everybody is. I promise you. You're not immune to this. You're not living your life in a holy way, so the government's like, oh, I'm not going to mess with this one. They're a good one. No. They're evil people. They invade everyone's life. They want to see what everyone's doing. If they invade the minds of babies, of young children, and whistleblower scientists that I can attach links will show that they are getting pulse in the head with radio frequencies, literally transcranial stimulation on human babies without permission, consent, doing it to targeted families on purpose to psychologically distress the parents a lot of the time. If they would do that to a baby, they're going to do it to you too. And they don't think twice about it. A lot of the system is running automatically. And like, as far as telling you or warning you about anything, that's where you could easily be too scared to do anything. And, you know, the best thing to do is just live. But at the same time, you can protect yourself and prevent a lot of pain in your life by knowing that this is a thing. The PSYOPs is 100% being used on the American public. There's so many different types of narrative control that if you are ever attacked with it, like I have been attacked with it, you're going to go through a journey, for lack of a better way to put it, of going through rabbit holes, seeing the wrong information, seeing the right information. And it takes you time to process that all and to deal with it all. And part of the reason why I spoke out is to give accountability to these people attacking me and to make them legally liable for what's happening, and to also build a foundation to fight against this so more people can see this as a person talking about it before it ever happens to another person. And I believe that Havana Marlena, I hope I said her name right this time. I keep on doing it wrong, but I know that she is going through the same type of thing in a completely different state, in a little bit different of a way. You know, the artificial tinnitus that is like turned on like a button, like somebody just turns it on, like you're being messed with. And then the vibrations and all the other symptoms that she's felt. She knew immediately that it was some sort of an advanced thing happening. Something's happening with a sonic weapon or a radio frequency weapon. And then it just takes time. How do I detect this? And then that's when she got a bat detector and ultrasound bat detector, and it picked it up. It picked up that kilohertz radio frequency that she was being bombarded with, attacked with. And if she wasn't being attacked with that, if that wasn't part of the attack, then why is it present every single time she's feeling those symptoms? So for me, being, I don't know, just a person that cares a lot about this for my own reasons, and then also because I hate to see a fellow American getting tortured in any way, shape, or form. But when this whole thing started for me, I didn't want to believe it. You know, that's the very first thing, is you don't want to believe it. But seeing other people's stories help you get through it. Zach Levette, I believe is his last name. He's posted good stories talking about what he's going through. And I wish every single person going through this would download either the software-defined radio or that WavePad, the last software that I uploaded, because you can record these strange things happening in our environments that are indicative that these programs are running in our communities all throughout America. And the more people that we have talking about it, the more attention that it gets from independent sources like myself covering it, or like Marlena covering it, or like Zach talking about it, or everybody else that talks about it. The targeted guy from Brooklyn, I can't remember his handle, his YouTube handle right now. Katie Gaddis in Texas. Another targeted individual from California named Catherine. Like, these are all real people that are all being affected just a little bit differently with the same technology. And it's done, which I've read about, it's done so we're not all bitching about the same exact thing. If we all have the same exact robotic voice coming to us, then we can all say, hey, this is the same thing, and it'll probably be transmitted exactly the same way too. But the thing about the United States is we've got so many advanced electronic weapon systems and patents for it that's why there's so many variations of what people are describing, because they're all running. And that's the only person that could do it is the United States. If you think about it, who's got all the patents for this? Who's got all the rights for this? Who's got all the ability for this? Who's got the rights for the airspace? If this is another country, they would get their shit shot down. If this was a corrupt business, they would do it to the wrong person at some point in time and that would stop. But no, this is the government doing it. And this is something where targeted justice, for example, just went to court 2 times, 3 times on this topic in a very carefully worded, selective way. And they're getting everything shut down, even though the government knows that they've got the capability to do all these things. And they're still calling it fantasy. So at that point in time, that's legal fraud. You know, if you know that, yes, the government does and did possess a voice-to-skull weapon in 2008, used it throughout their stay in Afghanistan and Iraq, and you're not using the same systems to prevent our troops from being hurt with improvised explosive devices, not only is that common sense to say that, but what the fuck? And so you're seeing war crimes, and then the people reporting it have to hide from the government. Chelsea Manning. You're seeing Edward Snowden report all the stuff that he's reported had to leave the country. Julian Assange was just using his First Amendment right, and now he's had his last 10 years of his life in a prison cell hiding from the government, essentially, for talking about the war crimes. And I was targeted before I opened my mouth about jack shit. So they just attacked me for no reason. So that's why I decided to speak up, is because the more people that speak up saves more people. And I don't know, that's it. That's it for today. And just a reminder that a Geiger counter, and an EMF detector are not the same thing. A tiny SA Ultra for $65 will show you narrowband radar pulses in the 1 megahertz to 500 megahertz range. I bet money on it for just about every single one of us watching this. Okay, because it's not me that's done anything wrong. It's the government that's doing this to all of us. And this is discreet as fuck. Do you know what a radar band radio frequency is? No, you would think of radar as just scanning the sky for enemy fighter jets or looking for enemy ships on a boat. You would never think it's a part of our day-to-day life in a community.